Hello, I'm Alejandro Gonzalez. I'm recording this in preparation of our next meeting on the 16th of April at 1 p.m., where we'll discuss the training that will be delivered during the project. As usual, I've prepared a very brief set of slides just to give you an idea of what we'll do on the day, and hopefully this will get you prepared to the discussion we'll have on this day. Just as a reminder, this is the timeline that we've followed from February this year. So we've done the meeting in February and March, where we discussed first the introductions and then defining how we'll work during the project. And in this month's meeting, we'll be talking about shaping the training. So what we'll do next week will be discussing what the training will be, what information you need to know in order to make the most out of the project where you will be involved. So the question that we'll be answering next week is, what training will members need? And what I've done to prepare you for this discussion is to show you what's the overall project and the different work packages or different stages of the project that I'll be leading. So the aim of the project, the thing that I aim to achieve, the thing that I want to know, is to evaluate, to assess, and then understand the role of the intersectional identities, which is what we've discussed in the previous meeting. That is all the things that make up a person, their sex, ethnicity, in this context also the level of deprivation and their age. And what is the role of those identities in the prescription of the medication that we've been talking about, which are statins and anticoagulants, for the secondary prevention of stroke. So the project will have 3 work packages. The first one will be focusing on analyzing local data. So this is information from Bradford. And here the objective of this work package is to identify differences in the way stroke survivors receive their medication. So the questions will be, are there any differences among stroke survivors? Is there any particular group that's more advantaged or disadvantaged compared to others? Then the second work package will be analyzing national data. So this will, in this work package or at this stage of the project, I will look at data from the whole England. And here, the differences that I'll be exploring is among the combinations of those characteristics from stroke survivors. So what I've mentioned before, which is age, sex, level of deprivation, and ethnicity. And I'll be looking at whether the combination of these characteristics is associated with lower chance of receiving these medications and which ones are associated with a higher chance of receiving these medications. And then the last part of the project will be to conduct interviews, and these interviews will allow me to understand why those differences happen. So what is it among this healthcare professional's point of view that is driving those differences? Is it a lack of understanding? Is it a lack of cultural competencies? Is it some sort of structural racism, putting people in disadvantage because of the way the system is built? But also, I will be interviewing stroke survivors and their carers to understand whether they play a role in the prescription of those medications. And this might be because of misunderstanding of secondary prevention or misunderstanding between their interactions with doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals. So I'll break down briefly each of the work packages or each of the stages so you have an idea of what to expect when we discuss this next week. So in the first one, what I'll do here is to look at those differences in prescription practices in Bradford. So the first work package focuses only on Bradford because that's where the information is coming from. And here, what your role will be, the role of the members from the Experts by Experience group, is to make sense of the information that I analyze. So I will be using different software, different ways of analyzing this data. And what I'll do is I'll present to you the results of this analysis. And you will help with the understanding of the data, of the results, and suggest anything that might not be there because it's not captured by the data. So just to remind you, the data that I will be using is from Bradford, and it's coming from the hospitals, from the GPs, that and the interactions that they have with patients. So you might identify something that's not capturing this data because it's simply not part of the routine care. So that's going to be really useful because everything that's not capturing the data will be used for the interviews. So if you are aware of something that, let's say I present to you, there are some differences based on ethnicity, and you think or you have a theory of why that's happening, then I'll be able to add that information in the last word package during the interviews and ask specifically to healthcare professionals, stroke survivors, and their carers on what's going on around that specific aspect that you identified. Then the second word package is going to be a bit similar because I'll be analyzing the information, but now it's going to be national data, and also it's going to be combining those characteristics. So what is the influence of, for example, being a woman from a minority ethnic group, age 75, from a low level of deprivation? And your role will be very similar. So I will present the results of the analysis, and you will help to make sense of those results and suggest whether there's anything missing from that analysis, and thinking on things that are not usually measured in routine care. So in the interactions that we normally have with doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals. And the last word package is to understand why the differences happen. And here, your role will be really important because it's going to be crucial to define the list of questions that I'll be asking healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, but also stroke survivors and their carers. So you will be able to define those set of questions. You will also participate in the analysis of the information. So when this is going to be different from the previous two word packages, because in this one, you will actually analyze the information. So this is something that you're going to require training, 100% needed. So there's no need to suggest that. That's already included in part of the project. But the other role that you will take here is to make sense of the information. So by the end of the meeting next week, we will have a list of training that will be delivered during the project. So you can think of anything that, from the information that I showed you, anything that you think you should know. I know that some of you suggested having some training around health inequalities. So that's going to be part of the information or the first training that will be delivered. But based on this information, have a think, is there anything that you require to know, anything that you think is a must that you should get training on before participating in this project? Think about that, and we'll meet next week to discuss this in more detail. Have a good day. Bye-bye.